What is going on, guys? CJ here and welcome back to Stalcraft. Today we have part 3 out of our 3-part video series covering all the tips you need to know to be the very best in this game. Now, if you missed my beginning tips and mid-game tips, you might want to check those out. Even if you're in endgame, you never know if you miss one of those tips and it can change your life. But with all that out of the way, let's start it off with endgame tips. For our first tip, we have serum. A lot of you might not know what I'm talking about, but basically serum is the most important item at endgame. You're gonna need this item to craft out all of your endgame things, whether it's weapons, whether it's containers, sidearms, anything is gonna require you to have anomalous serum. Now, as of the making of this video, there are only a few ways to get serum. First off, you must join a faction and get it to level 4 in order to unlock your daily faction serum mission. You want to do this as fast as possible, guys. We're in endgame, so you want to get this done as soon as you get into your sub-faction. So whether it's the day of or within the first few days, get it to level 4 and start doing your daily. This is probably your top priority as soon as you join a sub-faction. And then after this, we have your weeklies. We already know where the bulletin board is, where you get your missions. Do your weeklies, they will give you serum. A lot of them are extra tedious. That's why it's so important to not miss out on your faction daily. For our next tip, we have something that I believe is of extreme importance once you get to endgame. Could you live without it? Probably. Will you be successful? Probably not. Now, the item I'm talking about is none other than the buriat. I have a specific video breaking down everything you need to know regarding this item, how to get it, how it works, how it helps you get artifacts. So make sure you check that video out. The link will be in the description. But why is this so important? Simply, it will show you where to get artifacts. And artifacts are the end game of Stalcraft. Making your builds, making them more effective, and getting better and rarer artifacts is what you're going to be doing most of your time. It is without a doubt the end game of the game, and this item right here is the most important item for you to achieve that. So go about your day, grind out your buriat, and if you're smart, you can start grinding this out very early on. So the buriat would be our next tip. For our next tip, we have something quite simple, and that is something that everybody does in endgame, and that is none other than carrying 2 containers in your inventory. One for movement speed and one for PvP. You never know when people are going to run up on you, and the best thing you can do for that is be prepared. While yes, you can artifact swap on the go, it is much quicker and a lot more effective to do it with another container. You can start applying this even if you're very early game. Even if you're rocking 2 KZS2s, even if you're rocking a KZS5 and a KZS2, make sure you're rocking 2 containers. Nothing beats the speed in which you can do this. Boom, instantly ready to go for a PvP situation in case somebody runs up on me. Let's say I get the wrong ping and it was a friendly. All I gotta do in that point is switch back to my movement speed, and off we go with full movement speed. Alright, for our next tip, we have something that goes hand in hand with our last tip, and that is having builds. Guys, you can get to endgame however you want, but if you want to have a much easier experience, especially when you go over to the north, I highly advise you have 3 builds, or at least the ability to use these 3 builds even if you only have 1 container, which, like I already said, is not the best idea. Nonetheless, the 3 builds I want to advise you guys get are your PvP build. You can put this anywhere and you do not need the same amount of slots or even the same container or rarity of artifacts. Just make sure you have the ability to PvP a little bit more optimal than without any PvP artifacts. The next build is vital for grinding, and that is your movement speed build. You want to get to places fast, and as we know, movement speed in this game is not the best, so you want to make sure you enhance it with movement speed artifacts in a nice build. And the last thing is a farming build, and for this, you need a carry weight build. I highly advise some amberites, but like I said, you could use whatever you have at your disposal. Nonetheless, these 3 builds are a must for endgame. When you get deeper and deeper into endgame, you're not going to be running around with carry weight as much, but it never hurts to carry an amberite in your inventory. Nonetheless, movement speed, PvP, and carry weight are the 3 builds I advise you guys have when you get to endgame. For our next tip, we have Limansk. We're talking about endgame, and this place is as endgame as it gets as of right now. Limansk is going to offer you a bunch of resources, right? And it's going to allow you to craft some of the best endgame gear. But did you know that Limansk also offers some of the best quest rewards in the game? In Limansk, you can get an uncommon Mama's Beads for completing a mission that can literally take you about 30 minutes if you do it at the right time in-game hours. You can also get the Atlas for completing a very long and tedious quest line. Nonetheless, you get it for completing a quest line. And you can also get a top tier gun in the Ruin M16. It's an amazing assault rifle. All these quests vary from easy to annoying to absolute hell mode, but it's incredibly worth it, and I would advise that once you feel comfortable enough to go to Limansk, go out and do these quests. I would advise you start off doing the Mama Bead quest because, like I said, you can literally get it done in 30-40 minutes if you go at the right time of the day. Our next tip is quite simple, and that is airdrops. Once you get to endgame, so Yanov, Red Forest, Limansk, and anything after this, you will see that there are airdrops on the map. You're going to want to go for these because you need a lot of these materials. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many materials from these airdrops you're going to need. Just know that you're going to need a ton. On top of that, if you're trying to get some quick money, getting a drop and selling the things inside will net you tons of money. Things like spare parts, weapon parts, SBP ammo, injectors, consumables, batteries, all are things that are incredibly valuable to you and also to other people if you're trying to sell some of these things. Nonetheless, I highly advise you guys do airdrops because they're gonna be vital for all of your endgame crafts. Most things, if not all of them, will require you to have batteries. When you're upgrading your things, you're gonna need spare parts, so forth and so on. Airdrops are a must. The next tip I want to give y'all is dead time. This is only available during certain times of the day, but I highly advise you take your time and do this if you have the chance. As you can see, I personally haven't done any this week, and for the most part, I don't really like dead time all too much, but I do see the value in partaking in dead time. If you just so happen to win 10 times in 1 week, you're going to be able to get your weekly set. And the weekly set, well, let's just say it has a lot of really valuable things, spare parts, advanced tools, a lot of really good things. And right now, if you're playing the game and you're grinding towards endgame, you know the value of things like advanced tools, spare parts, and all these goodies. On top of that, you can also get some sets if you level up. The most important one though is your weekly, so do be sure to do your dead time. Alright, and as we get to the end of the video, the last tip I want to give y'all is activate sweat mode. A lot of times you might want to blame some people for hacking, not saying that they're not, but a lot of times you might want to blame some people for just being too tanky. In reality, they're probably jack full of all kinds of steroids. They got EpiPens actives, all kinds of drinks, all kinds of pills, and you're out here thinking they just won't die, and the reality is that they're roided the hell out. So if you're trying to do some farming, if you're trying to get some artifacts, or if you're simply trying to PvP, you might definitely want to run all of these items to make sure you do as much damage as possible and also tank as much damage as possible. And that pretty much wraps up this video. I know there are tons of other things we can talk about, but I do urge you to join our Discord as well as checking out our Twitch at Deathgun Gaming TV. We play this game often, if not every day, and every time there's an update, every time there are drops, you best believe we will be live 24/7 over on Twitch. So for now, if you've enjoyed it, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, drop a comment letting me know you liked the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.